This video is presented by Western and Southern Financial Group, a game plan for your financial future. Every great team starts with a strong foundation, and your future should too. With life insurance built like a championship roster, Western and Southern helps protect what matters most, so you can focus on winning today while planning for tomorrow. Whether you're just starting your journey, building your dynasty, or ready to retire like a champion, Western and Southern has the right play for your life stage. Visit westernsouthern.com to get your free life insurance quote today. Western and Southern, built to win. Let's kick off this semifinal preview show with the Fiesta Bowl. Number 6 Ole Miss against number 10 Miami. Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. Both teams coming off of upset wins in the quarterfinal round, with the Rebels getting revenge on Georgia and beating them in what was a thrilling quarterfinal game, and Miami on New Year's Eve taking down the defending national champion in Ohio State. Again, Miami seeking its first national title game appearance since 2002, while Ole Miss is looking for its first national championship game appearance in program history. And Dalton, there's a lot of incredible storylines in this game. I mentioned before how Miami is back after, a couple decades of being a relatively good program overall, but now they're finally like a national title contender once again. And Ole Miss, even though Lane Kiffin left before the college football playoff, they are now one win away from playing for a national championship.
I just think you have two teams that are such great stories and coming from such opposite directions this season, right? Miami with a couple of losses and really trying to scratch and claw their way back, and then very controversially getting into the playoff field with their head-to-head win over Notre Dame, finally mattering in the last set of rankings. But you look at that team, it's all about stability. Mario Cristobal's recruiting at a very high level, right? The trench play on the offensive and defensive lines has carried them so far, right? The veteran at quarterback in Carson Beck, the youngster at receiver in Malachi Toney, and just a team that prides itself on physically dominating their opponent versus an Ole Miss team that, number one, Trinidad Chambliss, the quarterback, is the coolest story in college football this year. Coming up from Division II, wasn't even the opening day starter. Austin Simmons gets hurt, and he takes the job, takes the reins, and never looks back and puts together an electric performance last week against Georgia. The circumstances surrounding Lane Kiffin, the coaching staff, even in this game, who's coaching and who isn't, right? Which assistants are staying? It sounds like Charlie Weiss Jr., the big name and offensive coordinator, is going to stay and coach this game and beyond if they get past this game. And then just in general, the road that they've taken to get here and everything they've had to go through, and it continuing to show that poise, especially behind Chambliss at quarterback. It's been so much fun to watch both of these teams, and the contrast in style, right? The tempo and the up-tempo, the offense, the flash of Ole Miss, and then the physicality of Miami. This creates a really great matchup between two talented football teams, but they do it in very different ways.
Absolutely, yeah. You got a school in Ole Miss right now, like you said, as a former Division II quarterback playing for the team right now, trying to look for another national title to winning a Division II national title at Ferris State, plus a brand new head coach, and Pete Golding too is now in his third career game ever as a head coach in the college football playoff semifinals. And then for a Miami team, you're right, that had a great win over Notre Dame, then a couple losses they had later on in the season. They got into the playoff, and thank God they did, honestly, because this is the kind of ceiling that Miami can show. So yeah, it's going to be really, really cool to see these two programs go head-to-head. Let's start off with the Ole Miss offense, Dalton, with the guy that you just mentioned a lot, Trinidad Chambliss, who was phenomenal in the win over Georgia. But now you're going up against a Miami defense and a great Miami secondary and an even better Miami defensive line. What should we know about this matchup with Trinidad Chambliss against this Miami defense?
I mean, when you talk about this Miami team, the first thing you talk about is their defensive line and how are they going to work around it. Now, I think at its core, I think Ole Miss can create they can create some advantages with tempo and with Chambliss' ability to get rid of the football quickly, but there are going to be moments in this game where he's under pressure and he's going to have to be safe with the football and escape pressure and make plays outside the pocket. Now, Chambliss, because he gets rid of the football so quickly, so often, an average time to throw right around 2.6 seconds for the season, he can work around it in the quick passing game, but also when he is under pressure, he is now the highest graded quarterback in college football, the 6th best passing grade grade, 8.4 yards per attempt, just a 1% turnover-worthy play rate is elite stuff. So he's a big-time playmaker, and he also doesn't put the football in danger outside the pocket and when under pressure. And the second-best rushing grade at any time, he can scramble for a first down as well. That's what makes him so good outside the pocket and beyond that 2.5-second mark. That's really, again, I've said it all year, it's been the difference between him and Austin Simmons. Simmons can win from the pocket. Chambliss has the ability to win when extending plays. That's going to happen against a Miami team that leads the nation, or is tied, I should say, with Texas Tech for the national lead in pass rush grade. Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor have just been absolutely dominant through the first 2 games of the college football playoff for Miami. So that is really going to be the task. And with the Hurricanes, it's not just their 4-man rush, right? When you talk about Bain and Mesidor off the edge and guys like Ahmad Moten on the inside, you got to look out for the blitz packages too, especially Keontae Scott from that nickel spot. He's made a huge impact as a blitzer already through 2 games, bothering Marcel Reed for Texas A&M, bothering Julian Sayin in the pocket for Ohio State. I believe it was 5 sacks that they got on Julian Sayin last week against Ohio State. So when you really look at this matchup, it's just about Trinidad Chambliss controlling the game, once again keeping his poise, and working around imminent pressure. Chambliss is the second least pressured quarterback in college football, but I guarantee you he's going to have a little more pressure than about the 22% that he's used to dealing with in all of his other games.
Yeah, so I have the Ole Miss run game in this one. I'm looking at a very similar matchup, and really it's just, okay, can Kewan Lacey in this game generate a lot of yards after contact? And listen, he's been one of the best running backs in college football this year. He has 23 rushing touchdowns right now, 5 more than any other running back in the Power 4. Over 1,400 rushing yards, are 3rd in the country. He's also 3rd in the nation with 88 broken tackles, and he's 5th in the country with over 980 yards after contact. And those 2 numbers, the broken tackle number and his yards after contact number, in my opinion, are very critical for this game, because while he has been a star, he has not received that much help from the Ole Miss offensive line. Right now, the Rebels have a 57.4 run blocking grade this year. That's only 85th in college football. They only average 1.6 yards before contact per carry. That's 74th in the country, and it's not going to get easier against one of the best defensive lines in college football. Right now, Miami has a 93.3 defensive line grade and an 89.3 run defense grade from their defensive line. Both of those numbers are second to only Texas Tech among all defensive lines in college football right now. Miami also 13th in the country with only 1.1 rushing yards before contact per attempt allowed. So I think Kewan Lacey is going to have to shed a lot of tackles at or near the line of scrimmage in this game in order for him to be successful on the ground against Miami.
And it was a grind again in the last game against Georgia, too. Kewan Lacey, 95 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, lost a fumble that went the other way for a Georgia touchdown, and he only forced 1 missed tackle in that game, right? And Lacey's among the national leaders in missed tackles forced, and he's going to run after contact very well, but it gets hard when those defenses are swarming on you like that. I think the question for Ole Miss last week, 108 yards was enough on the ground to keep them in the game. Can they put together a similar or maybe a little bit better performance, getting that 120, 130-yard range? And Chambliss is a big part of this too now as a read option threat and even as a scrambler. They won that game last week, and he made all those plays with his arm, but he only had 14 rushing yards, right? So you talk about Chambliss being a dangerous threat, and I think the read option part of it is going to be very important to this Ole Miss offense in this game. You have to find a way to make Miami's defensive line hesitate just a little. Just make them hesitate. If they crash, keep the football, take your 10 yards, and get on with it. I think Chambliss also plays a big part in that. He's going to need more than 14 rushing yards in this game to win this one.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the Ole Miss offense in this game. Miami offense in this game, Dalton. You have the Miami run game with Mark Fletcher and that great offensive line. What should we know in that matchup?
Very quietly, Ole Miss, they don't get enough credit for how good the run defense has been this year. Now, there's a lot of numbers, yards per carry and different things like that are closer to average, and if you can break that first level, then you can have a lot of success. I think their second-level defenders could struggle to tackle Mark Fletcher if he can get up there in this game, but their defensive line has been really good this year. I think the 2 guys in the middle, number 51 and 52, Xavier Harris and Will Eccles, they really control things between the tackles. They're really active up front. When you look at Ole Miss defensive line, they're 4th in the nation nation in run defense grade. They have the most run stops and the third most tackles for loss or no gain. You've got to be physical at the line of scrimmage, and I think those two guys at defensive tackle really are the key. You got guys like, Cam Franklin and Centarian Perkins who have been really good off the edge as well. But to me, Eccles and Harris in the middle are going to be the big key against a Miami offensive line that is 15th in the nation in run blocking grade. They're 31st in impact run block percentage. They get a high rate of positively graded blocks when you talk about that. So I think, they got size up front. It's a huge offense. Markel Bell at left tackle's a monster. Inez Cooper at guard's been a monster. Francis Mauanoa's going to get taken in the first round. And it's a direct approach, a straight line approach that they beat Texas A&M with right down the pipe with those duo runs, all those double teams up front. And they were the more physical team than Ohio State in their last game as well. So when you look at the matchup, as always, Miami is going to try to control the pace of this game with their offensive line and with Mark Fletcher. It's going to be a task, especially for this Ole Miss defensive line. Can Will Eccles and Xavier Harris in the middle overcome those double teams? Ohio State couldn't do it last week, even with Caden McDonald. If those two guys can't do it, then Miami's going to get their run game going with Fletcher, and they're going to control time of possession, which I think could be their greatest asset in this game.
Yeah, it's all about the offensive line for Miami in the run game, and it's all about the offensive line for Miami in the pass game, too, because feels like the millionth time we talked about today is about, can Ole Miss find a way to pressure Carson Beck? And Carson Beck has been, honestly, the most difficult quarterback in America to put under consistent pressure this year because, one, he plays behind the best pass-blocking offensive line in college football. Right now, Miami leads the nation with an 87.6 team pass-blocking grade this year, and Carson Beck gets rid of the football at 2.35 second average, the third fastest time to throw in college football. You combine those two factors, and right now Carson Beck has only been under pressure about 16% of the time this year. The next closest school, ironically, is Ole Miss at 21% this year too. So Carson Beck has easily been the least pressured quarterback in college football this year. On the rare occasion when he is under pressure, his production has dipped right now. He's an 82.6 PFF grade when kept clean, only a 45.7 when under duress this year. That's 91st in college football. Now, Ole Miss is only 83rd in the nation in pass rush grade this year, and they rarely send a blitz at quarterbacks either, with only a 27% blitz rate, which is 120th in college football. I think Ole Miss in this game needs to defend the screens really well, got to defend the short and intermediate levels of the field where Carson Beck so often likes to throw the football. If you do that and you force Carson Beck to hold on to the football for a tick longer than he wants to, maybe, just maybe, your defensive line can get home and force him into those mistakes that he usually makes when he's under pressure. So I'm looking at the Ole Miss secondary in this game, and of course looking at the Ole Miss defensive line in this game. And okay, can the secondary hold up and cover just enough? And can the defensive line win quickly against what has been the best offensive line in America at protecting the quarterback?
Miami has won their first two playoff games, largely working around Carson Beck and only asking him to come through in, say, big third down, third and medium type moments, right? Otherwise, it's been control the pace, run the ball, punt the football. They are going to need more from Carson Beck to win this game because you're not going to shut out Ole Miss, okay? That's just not how that's going to work. Their offense is too good. They got too many weapons. Can you hold them to a reasonable number and not give up 39 like Georgia did last week? Absolutely, but they're not going to shut out Ole Miss, so they're going to need Beck, and this has got to be, to me, the breakout game for Malachi Toney, and he's gotten an opportunity to do that. I mentioned leading into the preview of Ole Miss and Georgia that Ole Miss struggles defending outside out towards the numbers. Malachi Toney loves a lot of those outbreaking routes, and you mentioned it, the screen game, the RPO game. This game is really the best opportunity of their three playoff games for Miami to run the full depth of their offense, especially in the passing game, right? Texas A&M, really disciplined, really good zone defense. Third down defense is unbelievable under Mike Elko. Ohio State is still one of the best defenses in the country, and they only gave up 17 points offensively. Beck with about 130 passing yards in that game. They're going to need a little more. They need a little more balance in this game, especially if the tempo starts to pick up, because, Max, I do think something that is going to tell a lot about this game. Which tempo do we get? Ole Miss runs the 6th most offensive plays per game in the country. Miami's 98th in that category. If it slows down and it feels like we're going under the point total and Miami's really milking the clock for 6 or 7 minutes at a time, then you like the Hurricanes. If we start getting into a track meet now, which I think is possible, and Ole Miss, I think the tempo of the way they play can give Miami problems and at least try to wear out this elite defensive line. I think Miami, it's going to be very crucial for them to A, have balance, and B, slow it down. You know the best way to defend Chambliss, really? Keep him on the sideline.
Yeah.
That's what Miami's goal is going to be. I think if they win this game, Beck is big on 3rd down again. They obviously run the football well, and they hold the ball for at least 35 minutes.
So, Dalton, 2 teams that not a lot of people thought would even be here in the college football playoff semifinals right now. 2 teams right now that are on magical runs in the college football playoff. Who will continue their magical run all the way to the national title game?
I think because of the amount of talent on the field. Miami's defense, Trinidad Chambliss and the receivers, and then just the contrasting style of these 2 teams makes this game so hard to pick. This is one I really think this is one of the hardest games that we've had to pick all season. And they're evenly matched, but in a way that it's because they're so different, right? And I don't think Miami, and Mario Cristobal's even said this, they haven't seen a team like this year. They're talented first and foremost, especially offensively. They're so wide open. And if they do if Ole Miss can get that first down each drive and they can get into the tempo, what's the one thing I kept screaming during the Miami-Ohio State game? Go. If I'm Ohio State's offense, go. Get on the gas. Don't just let these guys get 35 seconds of rest, Bain and Mesidor especially, and then just tee off on you. Ohio State only ran 60 plays in that game.
Yeah.
Ole Miss averages almost 78. It's a different tempo. I think it's extremely hard to pick. I could honestly flip a coin. There's advantages and disadvantages for both teams. I'm taking the quarterback. Give me Trinidad Chambliss.
Wow.
I think he's got one more in him. It's Ole Miss against the world, especially with all their coaching situations. And Pete Golding, man, he's got this team just playing with the right attitude. I'm copping out with the 1-pointer. Ole Miss 28, Miami 27.
I have the winning team also scoring 28 points in this game, but I have Miami winning this game. I have a 28-21 Miami over Ole Miss. I think Trinidad Chambliss, his heroics can keep Ole Miss in this game, but ultimately I think that Miami is going to overwhelm Ole Miss in the trenches, both on the offensive line and the defensive line. I think Miami has the advantage in both aspects, and we saw in that Ohio State game, if you have the advantage of the trenches on both sides of the ball, you can beat anyone. And I think Miami has the distinct advantage in the trenches on both sides of the ball. So I like the Hurricanes to win this game 28-21 and advance to the national championship game.
Everyone's got takes. Numbers have truth. And the truth is, most people are betting with emotion. Sportsbooks feed on it. TikTok gurus sell it. The hype machine runs on it. That's how you lose. PFF is different. You're betting with winning data. The same data trusted by all 32 NFL teams and the sharpest minds in the game. PFF betting tools take every prop, every matchup, every angle, and run them through our custom models. Built on the best football data in the world. What comes back is your edge. Simple, sharp, and built to win. Want to go deeper? PFF puts a pro-level analytics department in your hands, giving you the same insights teams use to find every advantage. Build your game plan with matchup analysis. Project every snap, every matchup, and every edge before kickoff. Because the smartest plays start long before Sunday. Hit rates show how a player performs against their prop and against defenses built the same way. It's the data that gives you real confidence in every pick. Next, Key Insights translates PFF data into the story behind every matchup, giving you the why that powers your bets. From coverage schemes to defensive looks, it's the context that turns raw numbers into winning decisions. When you're ready to take action, filter through every prop on the market and focus on the opportunities that matter, by game, matchup, or value. Then, shop for the best available line in your area and tap your book of choice to place the bet instantly. Everyone's got takes, but now you've got truth. Bet with data, win with PFF.